Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today I have Elise on, who is another fellow coach from Instagram who's going through a journey of her own and who has the experience as a coach as well. And just like me, we both highly preach and teach about not dieting your way to your goal body and how chasing fat loss year round will not get you to where you want to be. You don't want to be the breadstick. You don't want to go from baguette to breadstick, which is pretty much saying you don't want to be a skinnier but fluffier, softer version of yourself. You want that hard look. And there are going to be a lot of challenges along the way. And in this episode, that's what we cover. That you need to make it fit your lifestyle without realizing, yet that is true. But at the same time, your lifestyle is what got you to where you are now, so it needs to change.
Yeah, it's so tough to make those changes too. Like, I think people really underestimate like how much it takes to like get to from point A to point B. I mean, it's no walk in the park.
Especially as a mom, like there's all these other demanding things to do, and we probably all, you and I both made the same mistakes at the start as well. So I'm going to introduce the podcast now because I just thought that was a really good introduction. And today here on 100% Real with Ruby, I have Elise, and I stumbled across her Instagram, and we both preach the very same message. And she's coming from a position not only as a coach, but as someone who's doing the very thing, just like I am, and just like a lot of honest people are. Because you'll see people on Instagram which you actually need to be very aware of, and you won't be aware of it if all you care about is getting as lean as possible. But how many times is your favorite fitfluencer dieting every year? Like, honestly, how many times? And are they really moving away from their leanest point when they're not dieting? Because that's a mask of them trying to uphold an image for Instagram. So with that, I'm going to introduce Elise, and I'm going to let you start this off by talking about where you are right now in your quote unquote reverse phase and what you just did prior to this.
Yeah. So my name's Elise. I'm on Instagram as the Skinny on Fitness. Nothing to do with actually being thin. Someone mentioned that to me before, and I'm like, no, it's just a play on words. It's like the inside scoop, to like fitness and nutrition and all the things. So I just like to clarify that. But yeah, so I'm in a reverse diet right now. I'm on week 4 or 5. Honestly, at this point, it all kind of starts to blur together. But I was just coming off of a 12-week deficit phase.
Say that
and 12-week deficit phase, not a 22-week, not a 32-week, not a 52-week, 12 weeks. And that was what was appropriate for me. Obviously, everybody's going to be a little bit different, but yeah, it was a very successful deficit phase for me. And in the past, I've gotten really carried away with it, gone a little bit too far. And I learned my lesson. And this time things have just felt so much better. It's night and day. And I'm sure we'll kind of get into what those differences are. But that's where I'm at. I'm reversing. I'm eating 2,300 calories a day now. Yes, there's fluctuations on the scale, but I'm just doing my thing. And it's been great.
You said you got carried away and you took it too far. Maybe you can talk a little bit more on that.
I definitely can. Part of my journey was this was back like end of 2018, early 2019. First of all, I just want to say like I had no business dieting. I'm, for reference, like 5'6", 5'7", and at the time I think I was like 125 pounds, and so pretty small person. I didn't have a lot of fat to lose. And I went hard, like right off the rip. I was doing 4 or 5 days a week of cardio. I was strength training 6 days a week with like some HIIT circuits mixed in there. Yeah, I just saw your eyes get real big. So it was, yeah,
I
a
was gonna say,
recipe for disaster.
it's the thing that we are made to believe, that the more we do, the better. The more we burn, the better. The less we eat,
Oh, yeah.
the better.
Yeah. And, my food was not anything like ridiculously low, but when you factor in the over exercising and overtraining, obviously it was a pretty steep deficit for me. And I lost maybe like 8 pounds, 7 or 8 pounds. Again, I didn't have a lot to lose, but I didn't know when to call it quits. Like, I just thought, like, oh, if I stop, I'm not hardcore enough. If I don't get stage lean, mind you, I'm not a competitor. Okay. So, like, for me to be comparing myself to these women that do this was just very unfair to myself. And I ended up getting a pretty bad overeating, sort of on the brink of binge eating problem out of it because I was letting myself get so hungry. I was very lean. I was ignoring the biofeedback and the signs and signals that my body was sending me. And it spiraled. I would eat jars of peanut butter. I would go through sleeves of graham crackers. I had no control around food. And I thought it was because I lacked self control and I didn't make the connection that I was so lean, I was hungry, and my body was just trying to tell me, stop, just stop. So that's a great example of taking it too far.
It's really important to understand that before she even thought about going into this, let me emphasize, 12-week diet phase, she was actually building, and she's been building for quite a while to actually to actually get the frame that's under the skin, so that when she loses the fat, that's what she's going to see. And a lot of people are walked up into this idea that they can magically do both at the same time, which, yeah, at first you can, but you're not growing muscle to the extent you think you are in a deficit because you see it more. The reason you see it more is because it was there to start with. And you're probably pumping a lot more blood into the muscles, doing different styles of training as well, depending on what you're doing. I wanted to really have an in-depth conversation on this because I feel that when we talk about things personally, a lot of people can relate to it as well. And when we're in a diet, there are struggles and there are sacrifices that we need to make, just like we said at the very beginning before the podcast started. And if we don't get ourselves out of the dieting mentality and take a break from fat loss, you are going to make that fat loss process such a tug of war that you'll be lucky to even gain any ground on it. So maybe you can start that conversation.
Yeah, and I think one of the most important things someone can do when they're gonna enter a calorie deficit is to kind of lay that groundwork for yourself. What are you willing to sacrifice, and what are you not willing to give up? Um, for myself, I said, you know what? Aside from the two events that I have during this deficit, I'm not drinking. Like, I'm not even factoring it into my macros. To me, it wasn't something that was so important to the point that I couldn't do without it. And I knew that um, it just it wasn't going to fare well with what my goal was. And so that was one of the sacrifices I knew I was going to make. And it's not a big, obviously, it's not really a sacrifice given the research that we know about alcohol and how it can make us feel and impede on our progress. But it was something that I just said point blank, I'm not doing. Um, the other sacrifice is I don't watch TV in the evenings anymore. It's something that I said I'm not going to spend the time doing. I have other goals. I have business goals. I have this calorie deficit, which is requiring me to make sure that I have my food ready to go the next day, that I have my steps done for the day, and that I'm getting to bed at a good time. Those are things that are really important to me. So another sacrifice. Choosing to spend time on the weekend meal prepping, another sacrifice. And I'm not telling you that you can't do social fun things when you're dieting, but you really need to put into perspective how that is going to play into your progress and kind of reset those expectations if you're still expecting to make phenomenal progress for the week and also choosing to partake in a lot of social events. So these are things I knew going into it and things I kind of sat myself down and said, listen, like, we're hunkering down. We're doing this.
Something that a lot of people, I guess, also fall to is the effort percent that you put into it. Like when you start any phase, it's really easy to give it your everything because you're just starting it, you're
Mhm.
excited. But then as soon as you start to wonder why things are falling off, why you might be gaining weight in a deficit, your effort percentage in that deficit will start to diminish the longer you are in it. And if you've been like, if you did not take a long enough phase out of dieting, because there's mental fatigue. And a really big one is hunger, and people aren't comfortable with hunger if they have an ongoing dieting mindset that has not had a reprieve to be able to eat more food, because you're going to be food focused. So, food focus, expecting hunger, what are other things we need to be aware of before we go into a deficit?
Yeah, the food focus is a huge one. I think you need to be willing to plan. Like the biggest hindrance I see with my own clients, and I'm sure you see this too, is just a lack of forethought and a lack of planning. If you're just going to wing it every day and just expect to meet your macros and make it to the gym just because you have the time to do it, I don't know anybody that's doing that. Um, or I know very few people that don't have obligations in their life and can just wake up and say, "Well, I'm going to go to the gym today when I feel like it, and I'm going to cook like this elaborate dinner at home, and I'll just see where the day takes me." And that's just not how it is. We're busy people. We have jobs. Some of us have kids. We have family members. We do a lot, and to think that you're just going to be able to get away with not planning, I think, is a bit naive. And so the planning piece has always been huge. That's a huge consideration. So you need to be planning and cognizant of what it is you're eating and what's filling your macros. Um, other things with dieting is listen to how you feel about the process. If the desire isn't there to continue on, and it's just not working with where you're at in the season of life that you're in, there's no obligation to ever diet. No one ever has to be on a diet. You can revisit it at a later time. So I think the timing piece of it is really important. I happen to be at a time in the past 12 weeks where I didn't have a lot going on. I had a couple travel things. It was easy to manage, and that was kind of it. So that's another piece to it.
I want to remind people of what you said before, and that's she had the thought that if she stops now, she's not hardcore enough. And that is a very, very common thought. I had one of my girls, we were struggling to get her to accept maintenance for the first time in her life. And she realized that it was because she felt like she was giving up on herself. Just because you are not chasing the scale going down, or yourself shrinking, or yourself getting smaller, whatever it is, does not mean you're giving up on yourself. It does not mean you're going to become complacent and you're going to gain all this fat back. And my own experience with this was literally the same thing. It was, well, I'm maintaining what I have now. I hate where I am now. I want to keep getting leaner. I want to keep building muscle. I'm doing all of this already. And if I do less, then I'm going to go backwards. If I stop focusing on chasing this thing, I'm going to get worse. I'm giving up on myself. I'm just going to gain more fat. I'm going to lose my muscle. Like that was my thought process. And then I finally got over the whole gaining muscle thing. I'm like, I'm not going to lose my muscle, but I still thought, no, I'm going to get fat. I'm going to get lazy. Those stories that you tell yourself, my biggest one, because I have a Maltese short structure. I don't have a waist. Literally, my ribs touch my hip bones. There is about 2 millimeters between them. So it always looks like I have a chunky midsection. And because of that, the story of, oh, but I've always struggled with this belly fat. If I do any less, if I stop trying to get leaner, it's just going to pile on more. And this is something I want you to speak on, this part. People think that holding on to this control, trying to have more and more control of things, means that everything's going to go well because it's controlled. But if you think about it, there is actually no control there. There is none. And tying into that, having control, that's not control, but having control and being obsessed are two different, well, not being obsessed, and planning, having structure are two different things. Too many people are okay with just what's more obsessive, actually? Worrying and complaining about the fact that you hate where you are, that you have all this body fat, that you can't hit your macros, that you're miserable when you look down at your belly, but that you're miserable when you look in the mirror, that you're not comfortable, like confident in your skin, that you hate going to work in your work clothes. What's more obsessive? Those thoughts, worrying about food, worrying about training, worrying about if this is good, that's good, or actually creating structure and sticking to a structure?
Yeah, and that really reminds me of like a conversation I had with myself when I was a couple weeks into my deficit, and that was like choose your hard, right? That goes hand in hand with what you're saying. Choose your obsession, choose your hard. Which one's easier for you to live with at the end of the day? Yeah, it's going to be hard as hell to like work towards these goals and make these sacrifices and make these changes. Oh, I get that. Listen, I want nothing more than just to watch TV, open a bag of chips sometimes, and just not do anything. I mean, that's that's what some days that's what I want. But the hard part of that I'm not gonna do and not gonna choose is the aftermath of that. And it's not to say like the guilt and beating myself up. It's that I know what it feels like to be confident. And the confidence does not stem from something aesthetic. The confidence for me stems from I said I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it. I did it. Like that feeling is worth everything to me. And when I ignore that aspect of confidence and I ignore that aspect of accountability, then I start to not feel so good about myself because I let myself down. And that's harder for me than just like choosing to read my book for 15 minutes, like have my little ice cream treat and like go to bed. So I just think you have to make that decision for yourself, and hopefully you choose the hard that is going to align you with where you want to be.
I just want to say we're twinning. Everything there is twinning.
Yeah.
And it's the same with me. Someone gave me a compliment and they were like, "You really are very confident in yourself, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah," because when I set myself out for something, I do it. I show up. I actually show up for myself and do what I said I'm going to do. And that's what confidence is. If I look at old photos, I looked leaner in them. I looked stronger in them. I had like there were times in my life where I was fitter, stronger. I had more muscle. I was leaner. There were all those things, but I never had the confidence that I have now. And that's something you grow into over time, and you learn to accept
Yeah.
yourself in different ways because of the way that things make you feel, because you're showing up in a way that empowers you and you find your balance, because there is no such thing as balance. Like there's no such thing as perfect, but there is balance for you, which changes every single day. And I
Hmm.
loved what you said about showing up for yourself, because that's me with training. I never miss a training session because I know how shit I feel for the same reasons
Yeah.
if I don't go and do that session. And I know what being fit brings me. And I'll let you list yours as well, because I think that this is a really important thing for people to realize, because you don't know how good you feel until you feel good. And being fit, I have so much more energy, so much more confidence,
Yeah.
so much more strength. Like I feel like I can just keep going. I feel like I have more mental clarity. I have confidence to go for things that I want now. It just feels so good to feel like I have this immunity of like a god. Not like, I don't mean it in that way, but
Hmm.
like it just feels that way. Like, yeah, I still get issues. Like right now, I'm dealing with my stomach thing, but
Hmm.
that's the thing. Like, this stomach thing could have like shook anyone else, because it's almost like I'm living with this like 16-week pregnancy bloat, and it's like it's been affecting a lot of different things. That is something that would have shook me before, and I would have had the worst body image. I would have been beating myself up, but I'm focusing on what I control. That is what fitness gives me. That's what showing up for myself, and knowing that I show up for myself regardless. When things get better, I will be showing up and following through with that. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I always say like the lessons that weightlifting and just I think kind of like this lifestyle and that like delayed gratification that comes along with it are lessons that like I don't know that I would have learned elsewhere in my life. And the first thing that pops into my head is resilience, right? Like yeah, shit's gonna happen. Yeah, there's gonna be ups and downs, but like I just pop right back up, like nothing's really keeping me down. And I think that like weightlifting is such a good example of that because it's like whether you fail at a weight and you go back next week or you go next week and you are able to put that weight up or you get sick and have to take time off the gym, but you're getting back at it. If your building phase isn't going as well as you want it to be, you know what, you just keep showing up and you keep chugging along, and then that gratification that you have been putting off when it would have been so much easier to just jump into a 30-day diet and like get your little results. It just feels so good, and that's one of the lessons that weightlifting and this whole experience has taught me is like delayed gratification, resilience, the power to just keep showing up. And I've tried to think of other things in my life that kind of present those same obstacles, and this one just sticks out to me the most. It's a very powerful feeling, and the confidence I think that comes from it is unmatched in my opinion. Being strong as a woman too is just like the best feeling, I think, when you can like be next to a guy at the gym and you're like, I hate to say it, but you're like, my form's better than his. Or you're like, not even that you're lifting more, but you're like, damn, like I'm in here, like I'm doing this, like I'm next to this dude who like thinks he's real cool, but like look at me doing this. Like that is such a good feeling. So
That. And I'm sure it also has such a positive influence on your daughter as well. She's so cute.
yeah, I mean being a mom just kind of like changed the game for me. And I think that's just another thing, another aspect of delayed gratification is like, yeah, I had my daughter at the end of 2021. So 2022, it wasn't my year in terms of like achieving these like major composition changes. I just kind of knew like I'm going to put my head down. I think I lost a little bit of muscle during pregnancy. I don't want to jump into a deficit. I want to like play a long game. Like I really want to do things the right way. And I also know like my sleep's not great right now. My schedule's a little bit all over the place. I can't really commit to the consistent training that I would ideally like to. And it's just not the right time for me to be chasing these like major, major goals. So towards the end of 22, I kind of like buckled down on things a little bit, but I just had to sit with that discomfort. So, I mean, it doesn't come easy for anyone. You're not always going to love what you see in the mirror, but I could tell you it's going to be worth it.
It's really important to know that things aren't always going to be smooth. There are always going to be things that pop up. Like just because you're trying to be healthy doesn't mean that you're immune to different things. Like I pulled a hamstring, I had a shoulder injury, I had this gut thing, you had a baby, we had lockdowns. People probably went insane during, like, do you guys not remember the fact that we just had lockdowns and shit went crazy? Like things are going to happen that's out of your control. You just need to adjust the sails, and that's why this is a lifelong journey. Like the moment you stop is the moment that things regress. The moment that you stop and actually revert is the moment that you have more of what you used to have that you never really liked. Like maintenance is not just maintaining what you have, it's actually trying to improve, because that's what maintaining is. It's still trying to improve. There is so much progress that happens there. It's just in what area are you looking for progress? There are so many ways that you can show up for yourself. And I want you to go back to this planning thing because it's one of the biggest things I also see. People say it's boring. People don't think about the fact that, hey, you like just because it's a weekend doesn't mean that you don't plan for it. Like you don't need to have a solid structure, but there still needs to be a plan. Otherwise, you're going to end up 2 pizzas down.
Yeah. Yeah. When I decided to take control of my weekends, and I'm talking not even like following a strict meal plan, I'm talking about just have an idea of what I'm going to have for lunch. I know that sounds silly, and I know that maybe it's just not a thought in anyone else's head that like yeah, you need to plan your lunch. But like for me, it was where I was able to take inventory and say, like, this is where I'm falling short. I am eating breakfast in the morning and then I just kind of get busy doing stuff. I run errands. I don't really have anything like top of mind to make for lunch. I don't really feel like cooking. Let's get Chipotle or let's just have a protein shake or, it's just, I wasn't serving myself. I wasn't serving my goals very well with that. And I knew that like in order to keep the weekends moving smoothly and to stay on track, like I had to have a game plan. I had to. And lo and behold, you know, things got quite a bit easier to follow. And I enjoy my little weekend meal planning. Like it's just second nature to me now.
It's never going to be easy and it's never going to feel normal until you do it for long enough consistently. And that's the same with training. Like, stop changing your bloody program so often because you say you want to grow your glutes. You don't know how to execute and engage your glutes. You can't get the muscles you want to take the brunt of the exercise, but you keep changing the exercises every 2 to 3 weeks. How are you meant to learn the movement pattern? It's
Yeah.
the same concept with your food. Like, you keep chopping and changing. Like, it's, yes, it is going to be hard to stick to something for long enough, but it's almost like if you're trying to save for like an investment or whatever, you can get really bored during the week and then blow some cash, and you could undo a whole week's worth of progress if it's that big enough of a blowing expense. And I guess this also factors into the whole dieting too frequently. You're making it harder for yourself if all you do is jump into a diet and don't allow yourself to build these habits at maintenance topic.
Yeah, I think like flexing the maintenance muscle is like one of the most important things that um, women specifically can do. Unfortunately, it's always like, well, what diet should I do next? The last one didn't work. Um, and I think that's just like a sign that, what you're doing is not working. So I think there's like this big fear that like eating more is like a death sentence to progress. And I don't think most people know how good they could feel if they were properly fueling themselves, how much their workouts could improve, how much their sleep could improve. Just life in general gets better when you're properly fueled. And it's something that's very underlooked and underestimated. And so, I think what we do on the weekend, what we do during the week, maintenance, fat loss, like it's all part of the journey and the days are going to pass by anyways. So like you got to just hunker down, work towards the goal, and just know like it's going to happen. If you're doing the right things, it's going to happen. And I think a lot of people maybe don't know where to look. And that's why one of my goals is like to try to provide like simple factual information so that you have the knowledge and can make educated decisions from there. And the more we know about maintenance, the more that we preach about maintenance, the more that we see coaches and people that we look up to living at maintenance, I think that message is going to go far. But it's come a long way since I started this whole thing. I thought living in a diet was a very normal thing, but it's not.
You always think it is. Whenever I get a chance, I spend some time in Facebook groups, and everyone's everyone's trying to find the best secret to build muscle and lose weight at the same time. Everyone is just focused on losing weight, and you cringed as well. It's like this pandemic of everyone just wanting to lose without realizing to have an effective fat loss phase, you need to figure out what the freaking hell your maintenance is first. And everyone skips past that because they want to lose weight as fast as possible. The best thing you can do for yourself is hover at maintenance for a long period of time, depending on you. Like, well, I say long because it's going to be longer than you want it to be. And a lot of people can lose a lot of weight in that period because of their habits that were previously before that. Like, you were splurging and indulging, and you probably weren't even walking all that much. You probably were drinking alcohol that you didn't even account for. So getting yourself into an actual maintenance can change your complete body composition. I'm going to let you talk on alcohol there, actually, and more on maintenance.
Yeah. So I think you bring up an excellent point that I just want to touch on is like the more you know about your maintenance and that like homeostasis that your body's in at maintenance, the easier a deficit is going to be for you. And I say that because first of all, some women do have a very wide maintenance range. Some women can maintain on 1,700 calories and 2,200 calories. And when they see these numbers that are a bit higher than they would like to when they're prescribed by a coach, the panic sets in and they think, well, this can't be a deficit for me. Um, I've never eaten this much food and lost weight, so it's not going to work. And the hard part about that is, well, you've also never eaten enough food to be in a maintenance phase, to know what your maintenance is, to know what an appropriate deficit phase is. Like all of these things lead into another. So I really think like maintenance is the best thing you can do for your body, for your future self, for your future goals. Is just sit with it. Just learn the habits that are going to carry you to your other goals, like cement those, get yourself in a good rhythm. Find what's working for you and what's not, like, and then it's just going to make the next phase, the diet phase, so much more seamless when you have an idea of like, okay, I know that training 6 days a week, 5 days a week, like it's just too much for me. And then you can taper it down and say like, I saw great results at maintenance training 3 to 4 days a week. So in my deficit, I don't need to like do all this extra training, all this extra cardio. Like I have a good base, I have a good starting point, and you could build from there. You have different levers to pull if things start to plateau. It's just like the knowledge that you get from maintenance, I think, is really overlooked. But like I said, I think the more that us coaches and people on the internet like talk about it and show it, like that's my big thing when I'm still reversing, but when I do like get to that solid maintenance place is like, look, this is what is still happening for me. Like I'm still making progress. I'm still like achieving these things. Like it's not just like boom, fat loss is done and like life goes to shit. Like that's not how it works. So I love maintenance. What's not to love?
I've been in maintenance for years now, especially because of the fact that I've been
Amazing.
dealing with so much crap, like my hamstring, my shoulder,
Yeah.
my gut. It's like there's no point doing anything else except sitting in maintenance. And I have no desire to diet. And just like you said with the pregnancy thing, I'm not entirely sure. Was the pregnancy the thing that made you want to do it the right way this time?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just funny because I think when I got in, so I got into like the whole fitness and bodybuilding thing in like 2016, 2017, and at least in the States, it was like the era of like bikini competitors and like YouTube fitness people and like it was just so different and a lot of the things that were talked about now were not talked about then. So like I didn't have like the knowledge and the wherewithal to like do things the right way. And it's even a miracle that I like got as far as I did up to the point that I did before I started to make these connections. Um, but I will say I've made more progress in a shorter amount of time doing things the right way versus the years that I spent doing things backwards, inappropriately, and I just I wish I could have that time back to do things the right way and just like see where I could be now. Obviously that's like wishful thinking and not reality, but that would be like my advice to anyone is like just learn from those around you and like no one's trying to sabotage you or anything, but just trying to help you realize that, there's a lot more to this than just dieting. But yeah, so being pregnant, I feel like I had the time to like sit and think about like what my goals were going to be post pregnancy. Um, my body looked drastically different post pregnancy than it did pre pregnancy. Obviously, as many women can relate to, and not even just in terms of like having gained fat. I mean, my composition, like I felt like I looked in the mirror and my identity was like misplaced. Like I just thought, like, I don't even look like someone who works out. Like, if you saw me, you'd be like, "Eh, like, maybe she does something, I don't know." But I always was, like, achieving that look of, like, yeah, she definitely, like, works out, she, like, is fit, lifts weights, whatever it is, and maybe that's a little bit of a shallow way to think, I'm not sure, but, I just felt like I just wasn't where I wanted to be, and I knew that in order to get there, like, dieting right away wasn't the move. It wasn't gonna get me to where I wanted to be, and that part of that, I think, is just, like, having the knowledge and education that I do have, but also listening to those around me that were preaching that, and so, it was a tough decision to make, and it wasn't always comfortable, but it was definitely fruitful.
I want to bring in another experience as well before I go into that. I also was in that whole bikini, except I actually competed in figure 8 times,
Mhm.
8 times. And they were all back
Wow.
to back. They were back to back. And you can imagine season A, season B, season A, season B, my body was fucked because I was constantly
Yeah.
getting leaner. And guess what happens then? I was losing muscle in the process. So it is
Yeah.
like, I wonder if I did do it the right way, what things would be like. And the same way that you had the pregnancy post realization, that's kind of like what a lot of you listening to this and myself, we went through lockdown. A lot of us didn't get to train all that much with
Yeah.
equipment. I was also like that. I had like a barbell and a couple of dumbbells, and I had a hamstring tear. So there was that as well. And in for the last, well, not now, but for about 5 weeks this year, I was pretty much doing a keto diet. And
Mhm.
that's because of the gut thing that I had to experience. And I'm still very limited on carbs compared to what I used to do. But something that it taught me is that I can still achieve things that I want to achieve, even without the fuel that I know that I needed from someone who was eating 400 grams to eating 50 grams of carbs. It was hard, but I still had, like, it did not throw me off. It didn't make me say, oh, what's the whole point? No, you still show up for
Yeah.
yourself for the very same reason. That's the confidence. That's, hey, this might not be building you, but at least it's maintaining you. It's keeping the habit. It's keeping the identity going. And now that I'm getting, like, I got most of, well, not most, I got like back up to 200 grams of carbs, back 250. I look so much fuller already. And that's the thing, like, I'm not going to go, why would I want to go into a
Yeah.
diet? I want to do it the right way to build what I can and actually do it for a long period
Mhm.
of time, because then I can actually get the body I want. And this is actually going to be the best. This is going to be the most important part. People say they still have this extra fat they want to lose. They just want to like turn it to muscle because everything else looks good, but there's just this extra bit of fat. The answer isn't dieting it off. It's taking time away from dieting to actually start building. Because yeah, you may be soft, you may have like extra pudge in places. So you think that dieting is the answer to get it off. But like you were saying with maintenance, you need to realize that that time away means that you're going to be able to say no more often, have the trade-offs, the sacrifices more often, to be willing to have more structure and quote unquote boring meals. Take that one.
Yeah. And first, I just want to say, like, what I was talking about with the identity thing, it's not just aesthetics. I think the misplaced identity, it goes so far beyond like how you look. I think I was more so just talking about like, I wasn't in that routine. I wasn't in that lifestyle for a bit. And like that took a hit to my confidence. And it is so much more than aesthetics. So I will first just say that. And then,
That's how I interpreted it. That's why I said what I said.
yeah, okay. I wanted to clarify that because that was in my head. And then, okay, sorry. I have a horrible memory. Refresh my memory what you were just asking me about because
The
I'm
the
at the
extra
end of the day, I just can't.
the extra pudge.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. So I'm not gonna like mention who this person was, but well, actually I can't. It doesn't matter. Like at the time she was a big like YouTube fitness person. Like obviously she doesn't know who I am, but her name was Emily Duncan and she said something like Yeah, she was like a big competitor at the time and everything, and, like, I really, like, looked up to her. I thought she was, like, awesome. And I'm not saying that she's not, but she said something that has, like, really stuck with me for many years. And she said, "If you don't have the muscle built and you decide to, like you just wanna lose fat for the sake of losing fat and you don't care what's underneath it, um, but at the same time, you're talking about wanting to look toned. You have to understand, like, your body's gonna go from a baguette to a breadstick." And, I know that sounds so harsh.
That
I
is
know
so
that's like mm, but the visualization of it is there. Like, you haven't built the muscle. There's not the shape there. So, like, if you just wanna lose weight, okay, that's fine, lose fat. Um, but without the muscle built, like it's not going to be what you're expecting it to be. And even someone like myself who's never been on the overweight side of things, I've only ever found that through the years, like my issue typically doesn't come from having to lose fat. It's not having a muscle problem. It's having a lack of muscle being having it on your frame and being built, that's not giving you the look that you are after. So, and the only way to do that, you don't build muscle in a deficit. You're not going to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. If that were the case, my God, we would all just be like walking around like lifestyle lean, looking like fitness model, like it just, if that were reality, like it's not. Um, so doing things in periods, doing things in phases is really your best bet. And I understand again what it's like to be uncomfortable in your body and have to delay that gratification. But there's really no other way around it. The days are going to pass by anyways. The time's going to pass by anyways. Like you better spend that time like working towards what your goal is. Dieting's not getting you there. Time at maintenance. It's a bit of an advanced goal, but maybe venturing into a surplus. If you're, it's not for the faint of heart. But I think that's where the magic happens.
it does.
That's where it happens.
Something that just came to mind is the fact that behind all of this, actually, I'm going to say the quote that I wrote down first, then I'll return. Don't be a breadstick, be the baguette that gets jacked.
Yes. 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 I'm trying to think of like what, okay, so you have like a baguette to a breadstick, but if you have the muscle underneath, you go from like a baguette to like
A bagel.
I don't know, like something else, like something with more like shape to it. I don't know.
A
That's what I always found was like if I didn't have the muscle, I just looked like skinny. Like, which is okay. Like I'm not body shaming anyone who's thin. I'm just saying like a lot of times people say they want to look a certain way, they want to achieve a certain look, but their actions don't line up with that goal. So like I think just that awareness of like just losing weight alone like isn't going to get you there.
If you actually go to like a shopping center or a supermarket, you'll see skinny, quote unquote, like skinny people there. You'll see slender people and people of all different sizes. And be honest, when you look at them, it's not a matter of body fat that separates them. They're like small, slight, slender, bigger, bigger. The thing that's differentiating what you want from them is there's more muscle. It's muscle. It's a
Yeah.
muscle thing.
Yeah. Yep. It is a muscle thing. And I will say like though on the opposite end of it though, like it becomes like very consuming to want more muscle, more muscle, like more muscle. Like it's an awesome goal to work towards, but I've seen people that like really like take things too far in that direction too. And like you were saying earlier, like everybody has to find their balance. There's nothing wrong with just like being happy with where you're at. You don't always have to be like chasing these grand goals. You can just like lift weights because you like to lift weights and like get stronger and like eat nutritious foods because of how it makes you feel and like be complacent with like that and not like always be chasing these grand goals. Like you could just live your life and like lift weights and eat healthy. Like that's okay too.
That's the part that a lot of people don't understand, because it's like, if you're not chasing something, what's there to focus on? But
Yep.
that's part of it. Like, your life is worth living, and all of the stuff you're doing is enhancing that. And I'm at this point where I'm not actually in a reverse or reverse or diet or whatever the hell. That is literally me. And it's almost like, what's keeping you going? Well, when I go to the gym, I freaking love knowing what muscles I'm working and focusing on them and being like, oh, I feel that one really good. Like, my favorite exercises are literally single leg exercises. I love them. I'm always trying to figure out how to get the angle, try to make every session better. And I don't know whether you see this, but something that I see holds, this is like my thing I say way too often, something that holds a lot of people back. That's because it does, but it does. You don't put enough detail into your logbooks. When I'm writing on my training log on my app, I write how everything feels, what I need to do better next week. If I'm grumpy on something, if I'm annoyed that I couldn't feel an exercise, or I'd be like, oh, the second set felt good, I need to do this for all the sets.
Yeah.
Or if I had something off place that I need to do next time, like, write notes for yourself, write how it makes you feel, because then it's almost like it makes it so much more enjoyable for you to do. That just reminded me what I wanted to talk about before. Mindset's a big thing with this, because you don't see it as it is, you see it how you are. So if you're struggling with something, it's because you're making it harder than it needs to be. If you're having anxiety over something, then that's not a thing issue, that's a you issue, your response to it. So maybe you can.
Yeah, mindset is just a huge piece in any goal that you're chasing. And I think the biggest thing with feelings and mindset is that like it's not fact. Like your feelings can change in a matter of like 5 minutes. Like, and that is what I have found. I think more so being a mom is like if I'm having like a real like shit day, um, maybe in the past I would have just kind of like let that like carry into, say it happens in the morning. I have a really shitty morning. I have to wake up early. Um, my daughter's not happy. Like, then I'm not happy. I didn't get good sleep. Like, we're just having a rough morning together. Like, I think in the past I would have let that like carry through the rest of the day. But I think, now with where I'm at mentally, I can like take a step back and pretty quickly like reset myself and not let that carry through. And that's just my own personal mindset work that I've done. And just understanding like, just because it was a bad morning, like doesn't mean it has to be a bad day. And I think it's important to know that in any phase that you're in, there's going to be tough days mentally. It doesn't matter if you're like the most fit person on the planet, like you're going to have bad days, and having tools in your toolbox to be able to overcome those bad days and still show up for yourself, like that's invaluable to have. And some things that are in my quote unquote, I guess, toolbox, like I just take a step back. Like take a step back, look at, you have the ability to train, you have the ability to show up to the gym, you have working arms and legs, like you can lift weights. You know how many people would kill to be able to do that just for 5 minutes? And like you have the opportunity to do it 4 or 5 days a week. Like that's first of all incredible, like that perspective shift. And second of all, like I call it just like can I say the F word?
Yeah.
Just move the fuck on. Like move the fuck on. MoveOn.com. Like if you can't just move on from something and it is like just mentally trips you up for like hours or days on end, like that is something worth doing the work on. Like I think I get the question so much like, but what do I do after like I get off track? Like you just have to move on. Like there's no tip that's going to like be life changing that I have or that anyone has for you. Like we all have to be able to just like put on our big girl, big boy pants and like just keep chugging along. So like that's the mindset journey that I've been on, is like learning to move on, learning to practice gratitude, change my perspective on things, and um it's helped me immensely in how I show up every day.
I love that. And I also have to add on to the move on thing. It's kind of useless if all you say is just get back on track every single time that you fall off, because it's going to keep happening. You're never going to let it go until you figure out what it is
Yeah.
that has taken you off track. If it's like you go off track, cool. Yeah, you do need to move on, but you need to try to figure out, how can I make this better next time? What is it that led to this?
Yeah.
What emotions are here? And you mentioned something so powerful, and that's you need to do the work on it. It's not woo-woo stuff. If you don't do the work on the things that are holding you back, they're not going to magically go poof and disappear. You need to work on them. It's almost like you need to work on muscle for it to be built. It doesn't go poof and appear.
Yeah.
And the same with the shit that you want to get rid of.
Yeah, nothing changes if nothing changes. And you bring up a great point. Like, yeah, move on. I think is like the mental like toughness part of it is being able to like just move forward. And so often what I see is like, well, what do I need to change about my plan in order to move on? Like, should I do this? Should I like restrict my calories? Should I add in extra cardio? And it's like, no, so much of it is a habit thing. So much of it is a planning thing. So much of it is a managing expectations thing. So much of it is like a lack of clear boundaries and guardrails with your goals thing. And those are the things that need worked on. It's not your macros and it's not your cardio that needs worked on. So it goes a lot deeper than just like changing your plan every time you fall off track.
Exactly, because it's the other things that led to the plan falling off track, not the plan itself.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're doing some stupid thing from some six-pack celebrity online, then yeah, you need to fix your plan because it's stupid. But
yeah. Yeah.
I really wanted to touch on two other things, because a lot of people see people doing reverse diets. Hey, they're getting leaner. No, they're not getting leaner on a reverse diet. You don't get leaner on a reverse diet. You don't you don't lose weight on a reverse diet. The goal is to get up to maintenance ASAP, like within 2 to 4 weeks is like the idea to get up to maintenance, not 8 weeks, not more. Like you take a big jump to start with to get to what you think is maintenance, and then probably you'll need another jump, and that will take about 2-4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we got the two things tied together, because I'm so sick of, I don't know whether you have a macros, I don't want to say their name, but Macros Inc. And like these online calculators that calculate your macros without realizing, okay, but what is your body composition right now? What's your relationship with food? What's your dieting history? What's your dieting frequency? What's your sleep like? What's your walking like? Like that doesn't come in a calculator, which is probably also why sometimes reverse diets make you lose weight, because you have some macro calculation that's too low or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the calculator first and then the reverse diet.
Yeah, I get so many messages on Instagram from people like on both ends of the spectrum. On one end of the spectrum, it's like, I have one macro calculator telling me to eat 1600 as my maintenance, one macro calculator telling me to eat 2600 as my maintenance. Like, I just don't know what to do. And then on the other end, I have people saying, like, it's telling me 2400 calories is my maintenance. That cannot be right. And I think it's just more of an issue of like people don't know like how much food they actually should be eating, like based on what their activity level is. And the online calculators have a real way of skewing things in both directions, overshooting and undershooting. I personally would not, and I've in the past have definitely relied on the online calculators. That's kind of what got me going. And unfortunately, because I was so impatient, had a lack of knowledge, I was changing my macros like every 1 to 2 weeks, without having like any reason to do so. So I always think like your best bet is to, it could be like a financial investment a little bit. Like typically a one-time macro count like isn't so great financially that like it would really like be that much of an investment is what I'm trying to say. But I understand there's costs associated with it, but you're also getting the education that someone has. And like you said, they're factoring in so many other things and looking at you as a person, like not just a set of numbers. And so I think it's totally worth it to spend the money on working with a coach to get macros.
And I would also add to that, getting a one-off macro count isn't going to serve you whatsoever, because it's never the diet that's failing you. It's the fact that you can't stay consistent. You don't have accountability, and the metabolism is dynamic, because what serves you now may not serve you in 4 weeks, depending which way you're going.
Yeah.
So it's something that it is worth investing to not use a coach just for weight loss, not just when you feel like you're ready, but to actually establish the habits and the behaviors and the mindset and everything that needs to happen outside of weight loss
Yeah.
before you get into weight loss, and then actually do the process afterwards for a longer period of time, so that you don't revert back to where you were or get stuck at the end of the diet thinking that that's what the rest of your life has to look like.
Yeah, I would say those are big red flags. If you're working with a coach who, first of all, just has you entering numbers in for the week, is not asking you any sort of reflection questions, not doing like any mindset or habit based work with you, not providing you with like actionable feedback on things that you're falling short on or having difficulties with. You know, there needs to be communication on things more than just your macros, more than just your workouts, because that's just one piece of it. I know a lot of people can just follow a set of macros, and a lot of people could just work out. But if like your head's not in the right place, or you have questions, or just whatever it is, like you need to have a coach that's there with you doing that. And then the other red flag, again, my memory fails me. But we were just talking about,
Changing your macros every single week.
yeah, that's another piece to it. I'm sorry. I just like get talking on a topic and I'm like, wait, you need to think about talking about this too. But yeah, so I just think that's a big red flag with coaching, is if you just have someone who's just focused on the numbers aspect of thing and is not doing like any mindset or habit based work with you. So I would encourage you to ask why they're not doing that.
I got a client that her ex-coach only got photos, weigh-ins, and if she was compliant or not on the macros. Never was compliant on the macros, so she never got anything changed. And then when she wasn't losing weight on the non-compliant macros, she got the macros cut. And I'm just like, that makes no sense. But I think that coach also had a shitload of clients because she was a bodybuilding coach.
Yeah, that's tough because there's so much more that goes into just being compliant with your macros, or lack thereof, or lack of compliance. There's more so that goes into being not compliant, and so many reasons why that could be. If you don't ask the right questions, just making a blind adjustment to someone's numbers, unfortunately, is not benefiting them or you, like as their coach. Like, I don't think that gives you any credibility to help clients, but that's just my opinion.
I agree. No, I completely agree. Like you as like, if you have a coach, or even with yourself, like if you're struggling for any reason, why do you keep trying to figure it out on your own if you have a coach? Or why do you keep trying to figure it out on your own when you can get a coach to do it? Because you can't solve a problem with the same mindset that created it. So if you're still trying to figure out your own shit and you can never get consistent with it, ask for help with it. Stop trying to keep figuring it
Yeah.
out on your own, because you're just making it harder. Like, you're not, I understand that you think that you should know what you're doing, that you should have your shit together, but no. That if
Yeah.
if it was that easy, we wouldn't exist.
Yeah, and I think there's always going to be points where like it doesn't matter where you're at on your journey. I mean, I've worked with people that have no idea what a macro even is, to like people that used to be bodybuilders, that are very advanced and probably know more than me in certain areas of things. And I can tell you it doesn't matter, because everybody faces challenges, and it's helpful to have a second set of eyes. It's helpful to have someone to talk to. It's helpful to have someone just guide you and be there on your journey. And things always come up. So getting in another opinion, another mind in there with, you know, same thought, different way of putting it, different way of looking at it. Like that's super beneficial.
I think that's actually the best way to end this podcast, in the fact that the best way, because people are always like the best, the most optimal. The most optimal and the most best way to get to where you want to be is in a time machine. And that time machine is with a coach, because you're going to stop making the same mistakes. You're going to stop letting your emotions dictate everything, because those feelings, you look the same one day to another, but those feelings will make you look like a potato one day and a crispy golden star the other day.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Facts aren't feelings. I'll say it again. Or feelings aren't facts. Feelings aren't facts.
They aren't. And the emotions that they evoke can make or break you. And honestly, having a coach through this it's really a game changer. And I found it for myself as well, just to end this off, because I want you to summarize anything as a little feed off from this, because I just thought of it as with my training, when I took like a mini break for about 4 or 8 weeks from my coach before I went back, I realized that in that period of time that I wasn't with them, my effort in the gym completely changed. I was avoiding exercises that I didn't want to do. I was doing, like, I know how to do things. I'm a coach, but I still did not do those things for myself. I was making myself more imbalanced. And getting back with my coach, knowing that he's going to probably doesn't go through every single thing that I write, because I write so much. It's just the fact that I'm writing it in, knowing that he's taking me to where I want to be, allows me to give 100% effort. And I know you do the same with your program, because you're not writing it for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I can't tell you how many years and how many workouts I spent doing movement that I just enjoyed doing, that were like fun for me to do, that were like, you know, things I saw on YouTube. And it's like, until you have someone telling you, like, no, this is the workout, this is what you're doing, and you're going to do it for 6 to 8 weeks, or longer, you know, whatever your training is like, and you do it and you're like, God, this sucks, like, but it's working. So, I mean, there's a lot to be said with that. Put your head down, do the work. It's not always going to be fun. It's probably going to suck some days. But it's worth it. It'll happen for you. Why not you? That's like my big thing. Why not you? If XYZ person can do it, why not you? Like, you just have to have the right tools in your toolbox. You know, we're all capable. I know that.
I absolutely love that. So with that, let's leave it at the baguette and the breadstick sentence. So I'm going to let you finish off with something that can like place mark this podcast in people's minds, with some catchable quote, and where people can find you. Obviously, this Skinny on Fitness on Instagram, but something
on Fitness,
not dieting all the time.
Yeah. Don't be the don't be the breadstick. Be the baguette with muscles. I don't know. I don't have like a very memorable quote. I guess like if I could leave you with like a little tidbit, it would be walk more, sleep more, train harder, and stop chasing fat loss. Chase strong.
I love that. You'll find her Instagram down below as well if you didn't get that. And if you enjoyed this, let us know, share it, reach out to me, reach out to her if you have any questions, and just stop trying to chase both rabbits, because you'll end up with nothing but the butter knife.